Hello, Indiana Hoop Nation, and welcome to the Road to Muni podcast. We're on episode 5 of the season, and I'm here with my co-host, Coach Lubbers, and Coach, it's we're diving into this past week here. Just to sum it up a little bit, it was a bit crazy around there. We had, I believe, 5 top 10 teams go down to defeat. We had the number 1 team in the country. They have the longest college basketball win streak at 38 games get snapped, and then. Obviously, what we mentioned a little bit is the coaching change at Jamestown, 2 coaching changes at Jamestown in a week. But we'll say kudos to those kids for getting a win on Saturday. It's cool to see everything they went through this week and coming out with a win. But Coach, we're officially into the season, and we're seeing a lot of good games, but seeing a lot of top 10 teams go down, and then a lot of league games. I think I saw on Saturday there was 46 total conference games.
Yeah, and sometimes you see the early season. I still think we're in the early third of the season, right? So we're probably nearing about the quarter pole of the season here, and things happen. I mean, you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old young people too, so there's off nights, and sometimes that explains it. Sometimes there's things going on behind the scenes that you don't know about, injuries, or this time of year too. I remember you get the flu bug running through teams, and you just never know. So I think not overreacting to what we see, but still, yeah, some eye-opening results. Anytime, like you said, in the Jamestown deal, when there's leadership changes, from the kids' standpoint, they're just trying to play and have a good year. So I'm sure there's a lot of emotion involved for everybody in that, and won't make any assumptions and just assume, it's good for those kids to be able to come back and get a win. And but yeah, I mean, like you said, the Idaho one was pretty surprising to see, but you never know what's going on, and things happen, and you can look at Division I too. I mean, Michigan State goes out and right their opening game of the year loses to somebody they shouldn't, and so it happens at every level. So
yeah, no doubt. And plenty of time for teams to turn around too. And here, in about a month when the semester ends, we'll see some of these teams even unique rule we always talk about in the NEI or on this podcast is the NEI kind of the transfer rule where some kids will become eligible and some kids will be transfer from other schools and be eligible in these teams that we have no idea, and they show up on rosters somehow. So you may see some in the next month or two too.
Yeah, there was always some teams that I preferred to see right away, right? I knew what you were getting in that first semester. You see them play a few times and you try to get that conference game in before the break, because second semester you either already know what's sitting waiting in the wings, so to speak, ready to become eligible, and that's going to move the needle one direction. But also sometimes teams lose guys that semester, or that you didn't realize weren't going to be eligible. So yeah, rosters don't always look the same after you get back from break as they do when you go into the break. So
certainly can change quick, and it's I mentioned a little bit last week, and the scouting reports are starting to come out on some of these players too, and I like seeing coaching schemes too, and maybe you had a certain pickup point you like, but I don't know if you're a permanent pickup guy. I don't know for those people that may not know coaching lingo. What I'm talking about is where you pick up the ball at. Some people pick it up full court, some pick it up at half, and it's cool to see some of these teams and where they pick up, because some teams are a permanent pickup where they just start at full court and man-to-man full court and pick you up early, and some will adjust depending on the guard play and things like that. But the reason I bring that up is there's a lot of teams that are starting to kind of pick up guards early, and just to wear them down almost. It's not even really to put pressure on or anything like that, but it's just to kind of wear down the offense a little bit just by pressuring them out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it depends on you, and it depends on who you're playing and what your style and system is too. For everybody's different. I think the best teams are typically the ones that they are who they are, right? They night in, night out. You turn them on, and they dictate the terms on any given night, and they see that through, and they're able to see that through all the way through, the final 16 and through a championship run. Teams that are able to establish an identity, tweak that identity, obviously, throughout the year. I'm not saying there's not adjustments that are made, but generally speaking, they are who they are, and they play the way they play, and you have to figure it out on the other side. And I think the best teams find a way to be consistent with that.
Yeah, and I think that's the key point. I heard I had a coach a while ago, and I believe it maybe in a coaching clinic a while ago, maybe even a ton of four, but they always said be better what you do than your opponent is and what they do, you know, and that goes back into what you were talking about. Just you know, you have your identity, and you just got to be good at it, no matter what that stat report does to take you out of it. If you're better at what you do than what the opponent is at what they do, more times than not, you come out ahead. So.
Yeah, and and pressure and things like that. I think great guard play is required to win championships at any level. So, and great guards often are not nearly as disrupted by any type of pressure as average guards, right? So if you have great backcourt, you have great guards, they're going to figure out what you're doing and shred you up in time. Sometimes it takes a few minutes, and not that it can't be disruptive or wear people down, but generally speaking, championship teams have great guards as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll jump, but just kind of transition off of that. He was kind of a guard wing, I guess, but I'll use it anyway as a transition point. Really good to see a guy, Miles Burns, out of Loyola, who I don't know if you caught it over the weekend, but it's having some big time games in the G League. He's now moved into a starting role, which is fun to see him. And I know we've talked about Kyle Mangus in the G League. There's a couple other guys also in the G League, but Miles had a 19 point, 10 rebound, 4 steal game the other night, and I know it's one of 2 or 3 games now in the past week and a half where he's really been very, very good. And the national title Loyal team, they were so good defensively,
Yeah.
and their pickup points and stuff like that was on high point. But he's one of the best defensive guys I've maybe seen. I don't know, maybe ever in the NAI, just his motor and now we're seeing some of the skill set too to be able to score some points too in the G League level. So kind of cool just to always see NAI guys succeed as pros, but Kyle is probably one that a lot of people listening to this hear more recently. Him and Kyle Mangus, obviously big time players in NAI. It's cool to see them having success at the G League level.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's really cool to see that. And then Miles is somebody I think who's, as he's leaving Loyola, right, winning a title, you could still forecast and say his best basketball is still yet to come. It seems, I don't know him at all, but I know that program. He just seemed like somebody who was really, really hungry for the moment. And I think I know Kyle sounds like he's the same way from my interactions with him. And I think those guys find a way to overachieve wherever they are and continue to be hungry and continue to grow. And they have the focus and commitment required to achieve at a high level. And I think they're both going to continue to just see great fruits for their labor. So it's exciting to see. I'm sure it's great for those kids, and good testament to those programs too that they came from.
Yeah, no doubt. Just kind of talking about back to some NEI schools here. It's crazy. We mentioned earlier in the podcast that the 38 game streak, win streak snapped for College of Idaho, and uh, maybe more shocking just how it went down. I mean, just they kind of got throttled a little bit, and you don't expect that. For one, you don't expect it ever from them. But two, to happen at home in Caldwell is certainly a bit surprising. But as good teams do, they turn around the next night and knock off number 21 in a Valley by 20. So quite a swing of probably emotions, even from players too, but even coaches, just from one night to the next. But even a good point for people to come on, coaches to come on. Coach, I don't know if you know this. That's the first coach that had come on to the podcast that lost a game since something aired with them on it. So we had a pretty good win.
Okay. So you're saying we're the good luck charm, huh?
Yeah,
okay.
good win for going ourselves before that.
Yeah, it's hard. You do this long enough, right? You coach long enough, you're involved in it long enough, and you have nights like that, right? There's the old expression, sometimes you're the hammer and sometimes you're the nail. And I don't care who you are, that happens, and you see it at all levels of basketball, for whatever the reason, the ball just doesn't go in the hoop, and the other side's on fire, momentum, energy, and it is what it is. And obviously, they're the program they are because they came back the next night, brushed it off, and moved on. It's one game at a time. And I think if I would have told Coach, 40 games ago that you're going to be 39-1 over a 40 game stretch, he probably would have taken it. So, and a national title mixed in there to boot. So I don't think there's too many programs, crying over the fact that they lost one, or feeling bad for them, let's say. But they're a great team. He's a great coach. I mean, they're going to be there in the end. So it happens. The blip on the radar, move on. I wouldn't doubt if they woke up the next morning and the old Jim Leyland, the old baseball manager, used to say, "I didn't come here to chew yesterday's breakfast," right? And so in a situation like that, you wake up, you may not even watch the film. You just move on, get on to the next one. It's not worth obsessing about. You don't have a time machine. You're not going to fix it. So it happened. Thankfully it wasn't the national title game or anything like that. And you got a chance to improve and learn. And I'm sure they have a lot of things that they looked at and said, yeah, that's probably an area we could have done better. Players, coaches, everybody all the way through, and they picked up the next night and good to go.
Well, don't you think that a program like College of Idaho, even though the throw out the score even, but just the loss in general, obviously mistakes were made, but you trust, especially when you won a national title and 38 straight games before that, you probably you rely on your process and everything that's happened before that to get you back. Unless you all of a sudden lose 2 or 3 games out of a 4 or 5 game thing, there's not a lot to change, right? I mean, you're not really trying to go in there and watch film and change a bunch of stuff, or I mean, you kind of just chalk it up as a bad game and move on, or it's not really a trend until you made the mistakes, for a while, I guess.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely don't overreact. Right. You go right back to the basics, and I'm sure they looked at it, and there's probably some things they didn't do, but you also don't want to take anything away from the other side. I mean, everybody in America that's coaching and playing is trying to win. It's not like you just roll out there and it's recess, right? I mean, everybody's trying to win. Everybody's game planning. And sometimes you dial the right thing up and it works. And I would imagine from a coaching standpoint, they're looking at it going, it's probably a good thing it happened because we learned a little bit about ourselves, both how we responded and also, maybe the other side exposed something that hadn't been exposed yet, right? From a game plan, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we got to improve that. And it's a great opportunity to learn and grow and keep building. That's all it is. I wouldn't overreact to it much more than that.
Well, I think Coach Tonable said it best on the opening night there, that the opening week of our podcast, that it's a good look for them because I believe that I know traditionally Vanguard's a pressing team where they'll pick up and run some different defenses and full court stuff. And College of Idaho, I know they don't see that a ton in the Cascade Conference, so it did give them a different look that maybe they now that can prepare them for future if they come across that come the national tournament.
Yeah, it is what it is. That's how I'd look at it.
Yeah. Well, before coach's conversation, I do want to touch about a program that with the College of Idaho going down, you have several teams behind them. Still playing some good basketball as well, and I know a program well with Grace, and coming off a big road win and opening up the Crossroads League play there, and taking on Marion, and it's a big week for Elijah Malone, and I know sometimes we talk about guys that maybe people don't know to help shine the light, but Elijah Malone, I think, it's so tough because that team is so well balanced that he is, when he wants to be, or when his number is called, he is maybe the most dominant player in Indiana basketball, and especially when he's stepping out and hitting threes like he did against Marion. But honestly, an All-American, a Player of the Year candidate, and just a guy that maybe we don't talk about enough because we kind of try to share the wealth a little bit. But man, he's playing some good basketball right now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago we played them and they were 16-0 or something like that when we're going into the game, and we're sitting there, Frankie Davidson, you're looking at trying to take care of him, and that in and of itself is an enormous problem, right? And then it's like, oh, by the way, you got Malone there, and then, oh, by the way, you got these kids that can stroke it and shoot it, and they share the ball. And I mean, I think Grace is as good a team as anybody in the country. In part, Coach does an awesome job with that group and has since he's been there as an assistant and as a head coach. But you watch Elijah play, and he's just steady, right? He's not too high, he's not too low. Now behind the scenes, who knows? But he just consistently shows up, and he just makes the right basketball play most of the time. And sometimes that involves him scoring, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it involves him, passing out of a double team, and sometimes he can drop step and knock them down like bowling pins and rip the rim off. I mean, he's just a really special player that does a lot of different things. And you think about it, and from a coaching standpoint, it's how many people on the other side do we have to game plan for? And Grace has some really interesting ingredients that as you watch him play, you have to prepare for, and your prep can't just end with Elijah Malone. And that's part of what makes Grace so dangerous is, okay, you take him away, well, now you got three other guys that are at least plus depth and everything else. So yeah, he's a really fun kid to watch.
Yeah, and just to feed off that too, I mean, the Gibbs twins, Cade, just passed the 1,000-point mark, and they're gonna have quite a few past that here soon. I know that they're all pretty close there, but what makes them so tough to guard too is that those big guards, they'll poach you up 1 through 5. I mean, if they have a small guard on somebody, they're not afraid to go, especially in that short corner area and mid post and post some of these 6'4" guards up offensively. So. I know there was some guys some ball and some touches, and they're so skilled that makes it very, very tough to guard. But like you said, then they run cutting action off of double teams when Elijah catches the ball and gets double teamed, and he's he's gotten better every year since his freshman year, and he was pretty good. But that team it's so deep, and when the new rankings that will come out after Thanksgiving, but you would think that they'll probably move into the number 1 slot. I know. College of Idaho. Several teams probably could still have that say for number 1. I don't expect College of Idaho to go outside probably the top 2 or 3. But usually how that goes is the next team up, and Bryce probably get their shot. And like you said, like we've said on several podcasts in the past, ranking's still a little early, to really matter. But as a talking point in the Road to Muni podcast, if we start talking about teams that legit have a chance to get to the municipal auditorium, I think Grace is the one to talk about now as we move forward.
Yeah. Well, they're so efficient offensively, and the one thing they don't get probably enough credit for too is their defensive efficiency. Right? They're one of the best field goal percentage teams in the country offensively, and they're one of the best defensive field goal percentage teams in the country. Right? So offense and defense, and I think Elijah's like 70% from the field, almost 40% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. So what are you gonna do? Hack a shack on him? Well, he's gonna 90% from the free throw line. I think there's ways to disrupt him still. And I think you're gonna see teams try to do that. And there are times where the doubles give him problems and things like that. But boy, I mean, everybody's got things they got to improve, right? I mean, they're really good, and he's a really good player. And I like the way those kids carry themselves too. When they're playing the game, they whatever play it the right way means. They sure look like they're doing things the right way. They share the ball. They play together. They enjoy what they're doing out there. They keep their composure, and it's a really fun group to watch. So.
Conversation segment this week is Coach Gaylean from Wayland Baptist. And Coach, I know you guys are coming off your first loss of the year, but top 10 team right now. And I know, as we talk about the Road to Muni podcast, I know you guys have high hopes to make it to municipal this year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First off, thank you for having me on and everything y'all do, both of you, for NAI Hoops. A little over a week ago, we lost to Our Lady of the Lake, and credit to them. They came out, punched us in the mouth, and we didn't respond very well. Coach Dial does a great job with them, just toughness and their style of play, and they won that night. So, like to not have some of those losses, but sometimes early in the year, those can be beneficial for you to kind of figure out some of your weaknesses and try to correct those. So, yesterday was, a way to get back on track against University of the Southwest. We were able to kind of bounce back and correct some of those things that we didn't do very well against Our Lady. Going on to your second thing, obviously, being at Wayland this year 3, our goal is try to go make a run in the national tournament. We were able to get there last year, and Antelope Valley knocked us off in the first round. So, our goal all off season, all preseason was, to do everything we can preparation wise, try to have a great year and try to go make a run in March.
Coach, what are some things as you think back to last year, right? You make the national tournament, and I know it stings to get that first round loss. And it's also an opportunity, right, to look in the mirror and say, here's some areas where we got to continue to improve if we want to get further in the tournament. What are some of those areas that you really attacked this offseason, either by recruiting and or just looking internally as a program saying, hey, we got to get better at this stuff?
Yeah, I think first off, you got to look internally, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, as a coaching staff. And, our biggest things, we took care of the ball really well. I thought we scored the ball well. We weren't a great defensive team last year. We weren't consistent with it. And then sometimes our shot selection, we had some really, really good talented players. But man, against Langston, against Antelope Valley, against great teams, sometimes your shot selection can get you out of those games. And so kind of our biggest things were, continue trying to score the ball at a high clip, continue to limit turnovers, but shot selection offensively, and then defensively just being more consistent, being tougher, and then just trying to be a great rebounding team as well. And so then kind of once we figured out, things we wanted to improve on, we tried to do those things through the recruiting process. And, if you look at our roster, we went and signed, all transfers and wanted to stay older, wanted to stay where, we could be competitive, in year 3.
Yeah, just to talk about one of those transfers. Well, I know you have a full. I think you said a full roster, but the one that's really been playing well to start the year is Lynn Brown. Obviously, he had a good D1 career too, and both from a coach's standpoint of coaching him and just watching the adjustments. Maybe talk from the standpoint of some of those players being able to adjust to the NEI level, and whether it be better than what they thought it was, or just different than what they thought it was, or just that kind of standpoint, but also just how you get those guys to start buying in and playing well together as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's an adjustment for any player to go from Division 1 to, NAI or D2. Most guys think that they're going to come in here and just, it's going to be easy. And then, they come in preseason and they find out, we have 5 or 6 Division 1 transfers on our team alone. And, you're talking about, some of the best teams in the country, team in our SAC, multiple teams in our SAC, recruit the same way, transfer heavy, a lot of Division 1 guys. And so, a lot of guys, it takes a little time of, hey, I'm going to have to still show up to work. And, we're preaching to them of, throughout the recruiting process of, what are your goals? Number one, you're trying to come here to finish your degree and graduate. And then, a couple of our guys, have aspirations to go and play professionally. And so, we're just, how you treat every day, trying to win the day and just laying a perfect brick, for the next day, just focused one day at a time. But yeah, whether you do transfers or high school, whenever you have a bunch of guys, new guys, we only have really 2 returners that are playing. One of our guys, we would have 3, but he probably won't be able to play this year. Got hurt last year, and Dylan McDougal, and end up having surgery late this summer and probably won't get cleared in time to get back out there with us. But, whole new group of guys. So the chemistry is an ongoing process, for everybody. And if you've looked at our teams, one thing that we're trying to do is have a better start than we've had in the last couple of years. Cause, the last 2 years, really my last 3 or 4 years, we're always pretty new teams and we're always playing pretty well. We always have pretty good runs late in the season. So, that's what we were preaching preseason. We got to be consistent from day one of how we come to work and our preparation.
Yeah, because I know, I mean, a little bit too little, too late. Probably, I thought you guys deserved a spot 2 years ago when you guys made it all the way to the SAC title game, and but yeah, one of the hottest teams in the country. I thought 2 years ago going in and didn't get in, and then last year you guys got over the hill, got in, and lost first round. And I know you talked a little bit about that experience and what it meant, and kind of how you guys learned some stuff. Do you guys even with SAC play? I mean, the Senior Athletic Conference is traditionally so good, and it's been several national titles and things like that. And over the last few years, it's a league that's only gotten two or three bid league mostly. What you've learned in your first 3 years of the Senior Athletic Conference, and then just about the league a little bit more in general as well.
Yeah, I think anytime you come into any new league, it takes some time to figure out the league, the style of play, the coaches. I think the SAC is one of the just has great coaches from across the board. You talked about national championships. Shingleton at Texas Wesleyan's won multiple. Gambling at MacU has won one. I think he's the youngest to ever win one. My old boss, Coach Wright, has been to the national championship game, 2 years ago, and then Coach Deal at SAGU, they've been Final Four, Elite Eights. Same with Francis at USAO, and then Oklahoma City is historically won the most national championships, and so it's a league with a lot of rich history. I think our two biggest things that's hurt us this last 2 years is our non-conference play. We just had teams that didn't do great non-conference wise, and then you get to SAC play, and man, there's 8 to 10 teams every year that are really good teams that think that they could be national tournament teams, and so then we start beating up on each other, and then the whole RPI strength of schedule stuff kind of bit us both years, trying to get multiple teams in. We've had I guess 3 teams both years, and so kind of conference meetings we're trying to get 4 or 5 teams in, so it's hey we're rooting for everybody non-con, trying to get some wins.
One other scheduling thing, Coach, I wanted to ask about. Just we've talked on the show here a couple times early season when teams have those exhibitions, right? The D1 exhibitions or D2s, whatever camp they fall into there, and the benefit of those early in the year. But in the NAI, sometimes we run into it, right? Like you guys have. I think it's tomorrow, right? You're playing
Sure.
West Texas A&M. So just talk a little bit to people listening out there. How does that play into your overall cadence of scheduling and the rhythm of putting an exhibition game there after you've already played a few games? What's the advantage of that? What's the concern? That type of stuff. Just give some insight to people on that.
I think there's some advantages to both. For us, West Texas A&M is the last 5 to 10 years they've been a top 5 Division II program in the country. I think they're number 7 in the country this year, and Coach Brown does a great job, and so any chance we get to play them, a lot of NAIs, they go play a bunch of exhibitions, to raise some money. For us, we're doing it. We get a little bit of money from them, but the biggest thing for us is, it's right before conference play, so it's a great chance to go learn. They're going to expose a lot of your weaknesses. You're going to get to, we'll have a little bit, almost 2 weeks to watch that, to try to get some things corrected before we open up SAC play. The week after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. No, it's good. Like you said, there's a lot of programs look at that as a straight fundraiser, right? It's the easiest fundraiser you'll ever have. But, it's also I always thought too, it's just such a great opportunity to put yourself in a highly competitive environment. And a lot of those teams, you're playing an elite D2 team, right? But a lot of the D2s you can go out and play exhibitions against, they look a lot like NAI tournament teams. I mean, it's just what they are. So the margin is really very slim, in a lot of areas in that. Now you're getting a chance to play a pretty elite D2 team. So that's cool. It's a great opportunity for you all, and certainly should be a good chance to, like I said, learn a little bit about yourself, but also then get prepped up for conference play coming up here.
Yes, sir.
I know after this game, you guys have a little bit of a break. For most, or bigger break than most teams have, I should say, and you guys probably get a regroup and probably get a little bit healthy and prep up for Senior Athletic Conference play. And the talk about the student athletic conference already a little bit. But you mentioned also your old boss being back in the league now, and I know that they're a top five program in the country. I know he's doing a really good job again with turning that program around, what number one from last year. But you want to talk about maybe just how it is seeing your former boss come in the league after you've been there for a couple of years, and then what those matchups are like between the two of you? Because I like Coach Ryan. Him and I talk quite often, but I know that he's a fiery guy, a competitor, but maybe from you, I can give a perspective that some other people don't know because you know him pretty well.
Yeah. He's one of my best friends. I was in his wedding. He'll be in mine. I'm getting married this next summer. When the job opened, when he was at Talladega, he was asking me about it. And I was like, man, you don't want to mess with that job. They're not very good. And I said, but it'd be fun being in the same league. We'd get to, we talk almost every day anyways. Now we'd actually get to talk about things that would benefit both of us. And then he ends up getting a job, and it's not a lot of fun because it just made the sack even harder. but no, it is. It's I enjoy it on the every night, but 2 nights or 3 nights out of the year. Hopefully, we get to play each other in the conference tournament again. Yeah, he's won everywhere he's been. He's one of the best recruiters at any level. And then he gets his teams to buy into what they do and gets them playing really, really well, late in the season, try to go make a run at March. And so that's kind of what we're trying to emulate this year of, hey, let's try to have 2-3 SAC teams, in Kansas City. But, it's, the SAC from top to the bottom, we added a couple new coaches, Coach Belt at OPSU, he was at William Woods when I was at Central Baptist.
Yeah.
He's already having them, a lot better. So the SAC is going to be brutal this year.
Yeah, on the recruiting side, you brought that up with Coach, but I've asked several of the coaches that we've had on just to talk a little bit about, if I'm a transfer in your world, sounds like you target transfers a lot, but occasionally I'm sure freshmen as well. But if I'm looking at Wayland Baptist and I'm looking at your program, what are some things that would make me a good fit for what you're looking for and get me excited about the program, the university, the area, that type of stuff?
Oh, absolutely. We're West Texas. I'm a West Texas guy. A lot of people don't know, how great West Texas is. A lot of people don't think there's much around here. Plainview is a smaller town. It's 20 to 25,000 people. But what's unique about Plainview is, we're the only college here. And so, you're in a town that, with one college. So everybody supports Wayland. And then, we're not far from, Lubbock is 35, 40 minutes down the road. And then Amarillo is just about an hour north of us. Kind of number one, we look at, the graduation process. Wayland's is transfer friendly. We're able to get guys, we have a couple 1-year guys this year that they're able to graduate, in 1 year. And so that's huge. We try not to take guys if we can't graduate them at least, in that next summer, because, that's the number one thing. Most of these guys a lot of guys on our current team and on our past teams are first generation graduates. And so, that just changes their family's, future and mindset. And then secondly, we just talk about, our expectations of winning, trying to win championships, trying to win a SAC championship, and then, trying to go win a national championship. And so that our style of play, I think a lot of guys like our style of play. We averaged 86 points a game last year. I think we're at 89 this year. And so we play fast. We give our guys a lot of freedom offensively. Kind of for us, it's, hey, you come here, we're going to give you your freedom offensively as long as we don't turn the ball over. You got to buy into the defensive side. There's non-negotiables on the defensive side, but offensively, let's go. We spend a lot of time recruiting, and let's let our players go make plays. And so, offensively, we keep it pretty simple and just try to go, let our talented guys go make us look good. But then, on the other side of it, I have 8 guys playing that have played professionally, and I guess I've been a head coach for 5 years. And so, a lot of these guys want to be able to try to go and make some money. We had a guy at CBC that got drafted in the first round of the NBA G League. And so we talk about that and talk about some other guys that are overseas, or, we have a few in the TBL league here in America. And and just different opportunities that guys can have being a part of a good team, a good program, and being efficient at the college level.
Yeah, no, that's cool you bring that up too, because I think that's one thing that I think over the last, in particular, 10 years, I'll say, maybe, certainly in the last 20 years, in the last 10 years, I've observed just the number of opportunities that guys have access to, right? Just I don't know if it's internet over the last 20 years or social media or whatever, but just the number of opportunities that are there now for guys to go pursue overseas, domestically, Canada, wherever it is. And I think it's really cool. And I always experience more and more guys wanting to talk about that. And there's some that's not really a realistic option for, but odds are if you're a top 10 team in America, a lot of the guys you're recruiting are ones that is a realistic option for, if they'll put the work in and have the right habits and mindset. So it's cool that you're including that ingredient of sort of casting that future for them. And I'm sure that has some appeal to some of the guys you're looking at, especially in the transfer world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it helps on a day-to-day process of, hey, man, we didn't have a very good day today. You're wanting to be a pro. This isn't how pros come to practice.
Right.
This isn't how pros, treat, the weight room or, wherever the case may be. And so, guys like to talk about it. Well, if you want to talk about it, you got to be about it.
We'll move it into the coach's corner with Coach Kevin Lubbers. The coach, who's the game you got circled on your sheet this week?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Junior, thanks. And this week we're going to head over to the Crossroads for great matchup early season. We're looking at Indiana Wesleyan. We've had Coach Tonigal on already early in the year. These two teams always have great matchups, and they're heading over to Grace this week. And the game is going to be on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern time. I always mix up my Indiana time zones there, but two great programs, two teams that have a lot on the line as they move into conference play. Indiana Wesleyan right now sitting at number 11 nationally. If they keep rattling off wins like they are right now, and with some of the other results that we talked about earlier in the show, I think we certainly could see them move up a few positions and the next ranking comes out. 5-1 so far this year. They took a loss right away on night one, but rattled off 4 in a row, and they got 3 wins already versus top 25 teams. So already building that resume for the postseason. I really think as I watch them play, and even as we were talking to Coach Tonigal, I think their best basketball is ahead of them still down the road. I think this is a team that's going to continue to improve. I know they're going to get some personnel back probably about the middle of the year, which will be a good shot in the arm for them. And I think this is a program that's really going to be in the hunt come the end of the season. And so, what's their ceiling? I guess TBD is what I would put on that. But I still think their best basketball is ahead of them, even though they're playing pretty good right now. And then flipping over to Grace, again, like you mentioned, potentially going to be number 1 when the next ranking comes out if they're able to continue to hold serve. 7-0 right now, veteran group, player of the year candidate Malone for sure. Who knows if the numbers will be there for that, but as a player, he is one of the best, if not the best in the NAI, and they are certainly a title contender. When you watch them play, they have all the ingredients of a championship team. So when we think about this matchup and what are we watching, could pick out a lot of things, but I think the efficiency on display for Grace, or is Indiana Wesleyan going to be able to disrupt that? And when I talk about efficiency for Grace, certainly on the offensive side of the ball, they're just elite. They share the ball. They don't turn it over a lot. As a team, shooting 56.8 from the field, almost 40% from 3, 75% from the free throw line, and they're scoring 98 points a game, or that may have shifted a little bit, but they are a machine running at a high level on the offensive end right now. And, oh, by the way, on the defensive side of the ball, they're holding people to 35.7%, which is good enough for number 8 in the country, and 64 points a game, which is number 22 in the country. So on both sides of the ball, you just have a veteran group that knows how to be extremely efficient. So one of the things as you get into conference play, and again, you don't often see this from a veteran group, but just being cautious not to allow the emotion of a rivalry and a game of this magnitude to impact execution. So nobody needs to try to be a hero or do anything out of character in order for Grace to find success. They just need to be who they are. And then on the flip side of that, Indiana Wesleyan is, can they string together consecutive stops? Back a few years ago when I was coaching, we used to talk about getting 3 stops in a row. And if you can do that 7 or 8 times in a game, you're probably going to win. Or you're at least going to have a shot. So can Indiana Wesleyan do that? And I think they're going to have to hold Grace to 42% field goal percentage. They're going to have to disrupt threes. They're going to get some threes, but they need to be disruptive, and they need to be able to defend without fouling, so we don't give them easy points at the free throw line. From a viewer standpoint, when you're watching, I would expect to see Indiana Wesleyan double Malone, in particular when he catches it on the block and he starts pounding the dribble. Wesleyan likes to bring a double team from the baseline side and really test his decision making and see if they can get something there. So from a viewer perspective, that's one thing I would look at. Indiana Wesleyan, looking at this game, it's just a great opportunity, right? The winner of the Crossroads is always a title contender in my eyes, and road wins in league play are enormous for momentum. No one's handing out a Crossroads title on Tuesday night. Nobody's punching a ticket to Muni on Tuesday night, but the game does carry weight, and it's a significant opportunity for Indiana Wesleyan on the road. And for Grace, MOCC, the Manahan, or I think it's Manahan Orthopedic Capital Center, is home sweet home, right? They're 34-5 in the last 2 years, and so far to start this year at home. Championship teams win at home almost always, and Grace fits the bill on that. So as we flip to that game, Junior, those are some of the things I'm looking at and excited about as I think about this matchup coming at us on Tuesday night.
Well, and I think this is, I know not number one, but quote unquote one of the first top 10 matchups that we've had this year. And I know we've had some other, again, air quotes around, but I know we've had some other playoff type atmosphere games this season, but this is about as good as they're going to get in the first semester here. Certainly 2 teams that maybe not just make Muni, but 2 kind of 4 national title contender type games and type teams. And I think back a couple years ago when Talladega and Loyola faced off against each other in the national title game, and they were both in both in the Southern State Athletic Conference, and not predictive of the future by any means, but when you talk about 2 teams from a league that certainly could go and depending on where they're at in the bracket, make a deep run. These are 2 teams that can do that, and I'm excited for this game. I think it's going to be a big time, also a big time game, and we'll live up to hype. You don't ever know that either. But by whether the team wins by 1 or 20, this is 2 very, very good teams, and like you said, Indiana Wesleyan not a full strength yet, but still have been playing really good basketball, and I'm excited to see them. And a little bit of a side note: Grace ended Indiana Wesleyan's conference win or conference title streak last year. So it'll be a little bit not saying bad blood, because I think both teams have a lot of respect for each other, but certainly a game that both teams will want to have here.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to need any bulletin board material in either locker room. I think the kids and the coaches are going to stay focused on execution. But 2 high-level basketball programs, some great kids on both rosters, great coaches on both benches, head coaches and assistant coaches, and just 2 programs that represent the NAI really well. And we'll have a fantastic opportunity on Tuesday night to check it out. So if you're looking for a little pre-Thanksgiving feast, I'd take that one in.
Yeah, and we've kind of brought them up the entire podcast season here, but the other events that are going on this week are always fun too. As we call it, I know Division I call it the Feast Week, but NEI has its own or a couple of their own classics that are going on too. We talked about the Battle of the Beach. We've talked about NEI the show. I know the show is going to have Arizona Christian coming all the way up to Tennessee to, and I believe they have a matchup with Union. I know Mikel Turner's still out with Union. Hopefully, yeah, we'll see him back soon. But we're seeing a lot of good matchups again. We still have the league games, like you just pointed out, but some of these classics this week are going to be a lot of fun to watch as well. Because again, we're going to have some of these teams flying all across the country to face off teams that or play against teams that we don't get to see very often. And I always think that makes as good as the Grace and Indiana Wesleyans are of the world. Some of the times when you have teams from different parts of the NEI, different parts of the United States come and play each other for the first time, it's always fun as well.
Absolutely. It's fun for the kids. I mean, we used to go play in the show when I was at Southeastern, and just fun. You see teams you don't normally see. You get to meet and interact with coaches that you may not normally see, in conference season or whatever it might be. And, I think for the kids and the families, those kind of, the show is set up almost like an AAU type deal, right? You got two courts side by side. It's, not a lot of bleachers, mostly chairs out, and just a really fun atmosphere. You walk out, you walk from your hotel room down to the court. The court's in the hotel room in the same space that you ate Thanksgiving dinner as a group, the day before, so it's things like that make seasons fun too. It's great stories for the kids, great memories, and a lot of the parents will come out, I'm sure, and be to it. But from a competitive standpoint, these kind of classics are great opportunities as well. You see some matchups that you wouldn't normally see. Like you said, Arizona Christian Union, that's probably not a matchup you'd see save the national tournament. And so, and there's other ones too. I mean, talking about the show a little bit, but like you said, there's plenty of other, really good matchups going on this week. So yeah, these are fun classics and fun opportunities all the way around, and good chance for people to get out there and play some people.
Yeah, and just I think to kind of close and wrap up, it's we're basically maybe over the next month, all the way through January, the first week of January. These are the last few opportunities that people are teams are going to have against non-conference competition to maybe increase their same schedule RPI or get a resume win, non-conference resume win, because that's once we get in January, we're basically almost every league is full on conference schedule. You may see some pop up non-conference games from time to time, but we're already seeing a heavy schedule of conference games. But this Thanksgiving break, and then you have a couple of weeks of some conference games in December. But then when you end the semester and then go into the next semester, you start seeing these last few classics and holiday tournaments and stuff that for some of these teams, it's a last chance to get a couple of resume wins before hitting into league play.
Yep, for sure. And conference play for most teams is the bulk of the season, right? I mean, there's some really small leagues where that's not the case, but I would say for most teams, most leagues, the bulk of your body of work is what you do inside conference play, and all these games outside of conference play are gravy, right, for that resume. And so, just like a good Thanksgiving feast, right? You can't ever have enough gravy. So I would just, and these teams looking at picking up a win or two, I mean, you can really get some great momentum going into the break and going into conference play by picking up some wins this week. So it's going to be a fun week of basketball, and safe travels for everybody, and happy Thanksgiving for everybody as well.
Yeah, safe travels to everybody out there. Happy Thanksgiving, and hope everybody, whether you get to see your family or playing basketball or whatever it may be, it's always a good time to quote unquote feast on basketball and food. And I had to get my own pun in there since you used the gravy reference, and it's just a great week that I would look forward to, just with all these classics, and then like I said, a couple top 10 matchups as well. So until next week, this is Coach Lubbers and Junior signing off.